Okay, so thanks for joining me today. Here's my Tello modified. I'm a bit of a nutter for this stuff. So I've got two things going on here. One, the Beta FPV all-in-one VTXN camera. That's going on in the front here, and I've tapped into the power straight off the battery tab, and there's a little ESR low ESR capacitor just in there for the filtering and power there. So once you plug the battery in, that camera starts running. You've got to be careful, you don't want to drop below the voltage. The receiver is tapped into down here as well. So there's the two wires grounded, and the signals for the original antennas, which would be down here and here. So I fed them down through there, and they're shielded, make their way up here, and then that's a half wavelength in 2.4 gigahertz land, 61 millimeters. So I've tried a half wavelength for the moment, just for shits and giggles, and we'll see how we go. You can see there's a sort of a right angled orientation here between each antenna, which from what I read is good for diversity. And so if you're flying along, you're banking right, that one's up vertical, bank left, that one's up vertical, and so on. So yeah, they're the two sort of configs. I've got some eBay props on at the moment. Don't have the Ansia props on here, but for the flight you'll see next, I am rocking the Ansia props. Cool. All right, here we are on takeoff, and it's a very windy day, very windy. 21 kilometers an hour, or about 13 and a half miles an hour, I think. And usually with this sort of wind, it just doesn't, you can't do anything unless you're in fast mode. But here I'm flying with the Ansia props, and they're carving up through the wind really well. At 13 and a half miles an hour, it's pretty windy. And I found flight time with these props around the 8.5, 9 minute mark, depending on how hard I push it, and I like to go fast or go home, basically. So here we are, about 60, 70 meters away from the receiver. It's the statics coming in, the receiver and the transmitter, in this case for the VTX. The transmitter has a whip antenna, just a single omnidirectional sort of whip antenna, and the receiver is also the same thing. My goggles, the vision, when it's good, is a lot better. This is a crappy USB-based thing that goes to my laptop. It's just sitting on one of those goalposts down below us there, and taking the video capture of this flight today. My camera goggles are an old set of fatsharks. Gotta love eBay. And they've got a what do you call it? Mushroom cloverleaf antenna. So I need to swap that out as well. I do have a couple of parts coming from eBay. A better camera. This was just a crappy $15 one. And I'm going to try a different VTX and go for a cloverleaf. I found a cloverleaf to UHFL connector on eBay, 7 centimeter length cable. So that's good. I'll use that to mount on it and hopefully improve the video feed. Although it's pretty well. At the moment, flying at about 15 meters in the air. Here I get a gush of wind. You see the wind really, go along with the wind there. It gets pretty fast. And but I've captured up the top of the screen the telemetry from the Tello app on the iPhone, along with its warnings and just the weather for the day. So you can see the Wi-Fi drops really low, but for control of the Tello, it's working a charm. I have no delays, no dropouts, doesn't sit and hover anywhere. Here I'm going through to the other side of a building, so a lot of blockage there. As I pull to the right, I'm behind the building and the RF signal, so it drops off. Clear that, it almost hit that aircon, scares the shit out of me, and move forward. So just doing a bit of testing here around interference and everything. I've got an LC filter I want to chuck on the better camera. I'm going to look at adding another battery just for getting a bit of a long range sort of thing going on. But no Wi-Fi repeater at any of this. And quick Google Maps check. I think I probably hit about 100 meters in different parts. Here I'm going for a height test now. You can see the angle of the camera as the wind hits it. The VPS is compensating pretty strongly. I'm getting error messages there about VPS failing. And you can see as I get higher, 20 meters now, you know, that camera is showing you how much it's fighting against the wind. It's pretty nuts. Wi-Fi varies, goes up and down. These are omnidirectional antennas, whip antennas, so it's a different pattern. They're not really designed to be above the radio signal, directly above it, but all things considered, let's go for a nice 30-meter high flight now. Go a little bit away from the centre of the signal, hitting that radiation pattern. You can see the signal gets a bit better for a while. Now I'm probably 30 metres up and approximately 80 to 100 metres away, getting to the extensive safe video signal. But just to note, a very important note, I'm flying above a school. The school below the picture here has about 50 wireless access points running in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz mode. So it's noisy as all buggery down there. It's noisy as mother. So, you know, this is a really good test. You can see now as I gradually come down, dropping to 20 meters, a bit faster now. I'm going to fly over the top of the gym. That's one big ground plane there, and I'm flying over it with no problem. So really happy with how these antennas are figuring out, because usually if you look at an older video of mine with the Tello FPV camera, you know, I'd needed a Wi-Fi repeater to get any sort of reliable FPV footage to fly it. Here I am standing in the middle of the oval like an idiot, take my attention off it, and what I do, I crash.